What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of GLE. I'm real excited. I got a good friend on the show with me today. He is the principal of Andalusia Development Company, and he oversees all aspects of the acquisition, disposition, and the development processes for Andalusia Development Company. He's led all facets of the business. Their business spans more than $100 million in commercial assets, primarily in multifamily and retail. And he's a second-generation real estate investor and developer. I'm really excited to talk to Ahmed today and just glean his wisdom, share his wisdom with the GLE audience. Ahmed, welcome to GLE.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome, man. Ahmed Seirafi. You guys, you got to go follow him. He's putting out good content on Instagram at Ahmed Builds Better. You can also find all the other stuff he's doing at Ahmed10k.com, or you can follow the hashtag IBuildBetter. So go give him a follow and see the stuff he's putting out. Ahmed, start off telling us your story, man. What was it like growing up the son of a successful real estate developer?
Well, it's we kind of started building together. We started doing the work together about 16, 18 years ago. We really started getting into real estate full time. But, growing up, I grew up in my dad's gas station. He had a gas station for, 40 years. And I grew up in the gas station weekends, after school, and then all through college. It took me almost 8 years to go through college because I was pumping gas 60 hours a week. Yeah, it took a while. Yeah, I failed a few classes because of it too. Because growing up in an immigrant family, you're expected to, chip in and be a part of what takes care of the family. And that gas station was it. So I definitely did a lot of hours at that gas station, ate a lot of potato chips and drink a lot of soda over the years.
I bet.
Yeah. And then, from the gas station on, we sold the gas station. I took the money, went out and invested in some real estate. My dad bought some land along the way. And then from there on out, we just started slowly growing a business and a portfolio.
Wow, that's awesome, man. So I remember back to my high school days, I had some friends that had families. They were sort of immigrant families as well, and they owned gas stations. And I remember my buddy who I'd ride around with, he'd always have to go work at the gas station. But I remember thinking I always had a weird perspective on entrepreneur people because I came from an employee family. And so I came from a go to college, get your degree, go get your job family. And so I don't know, I never had any aspiration to be a business owner, in my younger days. I'm just curious, from your perspective, growing up on the complete opposite of that, did you feel like an outcast when it came to a traditional go to college sort of thing, or what was it like growing up?
It was interesting because growing up with an entrepreneurial father, I had aspirations of having a corporate job.
Oh, wow.
I always wanted to be a commercial airline pilot, work for a big airline and just fly planes around the world for the rest of my life because I was completely fascinated with these big giant machines that you fly and gets off the ground and you can go somewhere different all the time. So my aspirations were, hey, be a commercial airline pilot. I just loved aviation, loved planes, and my father never pushed me to go into a certain career or a certain major or a certain something at school. It was always like, hey, you got to go to college and get a degree. As long as it's within a business or something type related field or engineering or something like that you can do something with it, it's fine. But go to college. And then once you graduate, it's a different story after that. But just go to college, get a degree because, college is not necessarily for the education, but for the experience, for the social skills, for the teamwork, for the other type of building exercises you do with other people there. Those are the type of skills that will take you into your career or into your entrepreneurial journey or whatever you have after that. Because let's be honest, how many of us remember our, intro to American history or our foreign currency classes? Not many of us do, and I don't for sure, but I do remember the social aspect of college and creating friendships and working together in teams and going down that road and that journey and just strengthening that muscle.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think my intro to film class really did anything for me in my financial well-being in the future, right?
Yeah, not for many of us, at least, that's for sure.
So development, real estate development. I think most of the average Joes, when they think of real estate, are, they're thinking of flipping houses. They're thinking of, you buy a home, maybe it appreciates, you make a little money, whatever. Talk a little bit about development specifically and what exactly you do as a development company.
That's the fun part. To me, a lot of people get into business or become entrepreneurs or things because they want to make money. To me, if you enjoy what you're doing and you're good at it, the money will follow automatically. And I went from college to commercial real estate broker to commercial, construction company, general manager, and into full-time developing. I kind of did that progress, alongside the family business, which I was working in full-time as well. And now I'm full-time there. But, the development journey it's not rocket science, but you do have to be patient, because all my life, I love building things. I love putting things together. I love creating things out of nothing, whether you're baking a cake from raw materials or you're taking a box of Legos and creating a rocket ship out of it. I love putting things together to create something at the end. And I think that's why my journey into real estate development has been so enjoyable and so productive to me, because I enjoy what I'm doing. And it goes from every aspect of it, from site selection to evaluation, to negotiation, to escrow, to closings, to architects, to engineers, to applications and permits and approvals. And then it goes from there, it goes to construction documents and contractors and subcontractors. And then you have a completed project, and then you can either take it to market and for lease or for sale. So there's a huge process involved. I mean, many aspects of real estate are involved in development, and you need a good team around you. But I just enjoy step by step assembling that puzzle piece by piece. And at the end of the day, you have a completed puzzle. And that's the joy I get out of it.
That's super cool, man. Super cool. So, you mentioned something that came to mind. I was going to ask you about it. This is go lead everything. You talked about building a good team. When you said you and your dad got into, building the company after you graduated?
It's kind of at the same time I graduated. We sold the gas station, and I took that money and we went and invested into a bunch of multifamily property out in Arizona. And at the same time, over the years, took some of that cash or the refinance money and bought some land parcels as well over the years. And now I am moving forward with developing those opportunities, as well as acquiring new properties for new developments and filling up the pipeline for the next 5 to 7 years from now on out. So it was kind of, buy some existing property to produce a cash flow, then buy some land opportunities and get those ready for development in that pipeline in the next few years.
Mm-hmm. So when you were doing that, during that time, how do you go about selecting properties? How do you go about saying, okay, it's time to build a team around us? What's going on through your head? It's
kind of like pretty much choosing what you're going to eat for dinner, and sticking with it, saying, hey, I'm going to have steak. I'm going to stick with steak, or I like pasta. I'm going to stick with pasta. And you evaluate why you want that food and where you want to have it. It's the same thing with real estate. You say, hey, I'm here in Southern California. We are in a housing drought. We need to provide more housing. So that's why we're moving forward in the multifamily space, because it provides housing, because the demographic here demands it. If I was in, say, Salt Lake City, I would be choosing between industrial property and housing or apartments, because that's very strong in Salt Lake City, is both the industrial product as well as the housing product. So it's kind of like what is needed in that market. Mm-hmm. And then once you figure out what you can provide for that market, then you stick with it, and then you learn about it and you grow with it, and you research it and you execute upon it. So with me, Southern California is in a need for housing. So definitely moving towards that way. Not necessarily a need for retail buildings. That's a different type of product, and that's something that's not as much in demand here. So I follow the demands, follow the trends, and follow the demographics.
So you're coming to move to Austin with Tesla and everybody else?
Yeah, well, if I had an opportunity in Austin, I'd definitely take it, because the political climate there, as well as the tax structures, are pretty favorable compared to what's here in California.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%.
I wish,
Always curious
yeah.
what people are doing in California, what's going through their minds, man. It's crazy times. Yeah.
Well, if you got an opportunity for me in Texas, I am all ears. Trust me.
Okay. There you go. Cool. We'll have to talk about that. So, you touched a little bit on developers and like really covering all aspects. I mean, just walking through, step by step by step by step by step. If you're talking to somebody just getting into the business, like you got your Grant Cardones. I got a buddy, Rohan Jahar, founder of JT Capital. He's got a big real estate portfolio, looking at a lot of multifamily deal stuff. There's the philosophy of start with a flip or start with a rental property, or you can do the BRRRR model. You can even start with a duplex or a live-in sort of thing. So many ways, like you said, it's like picking dinner and sticking with it. Like what do you recommend to a newbie getting their feet wet in real estate, or is it just a personal preference thing? Like what now, having your perspective, what would you tell somebody who's just trying to figure it out?
First thing I always tell people that come to me for advice or mentorship or guidance or tutoring or what have you not, the first thing I tell anyone, no matter what, is get your real estate license. Because without your real estate license, you're passing up on commissions, you're passing up on referrals, you're passing up on money that you could be making along the way through your real estate journey. So without that real estate license, you would not be getting a lot of the money that is due to you. I've been a licensed real estate broker for 15 years now. And as a commercial broker, I did a lot of warehouse and industrial deals. And I kept in contact with my clients. And over the years, I still tell people to this day, I am still a licensed commercial broker. I can, if you ever need advice or help, please come to me. Let me know if I can be of service to you. This year alone for 2021, I am on track to make $70,000 in passive income just by referring deals to other brokers, because people come to me looking for help. And I say, well, I got a license and I got a team of guys that I work with. I highly suggest you work with them. You don't have to, but you should, because I trust them and I work with them on a daily basis as well. And I refer the business to them, but they give me a referral fee because I still have my license.
Yeah.
$70,000 passive, just referring business. That's what I'm talking about. By having a real estate license, don't pass up on a dollar. So first thing you do, get your license. Once you get your license, you're now in that real estate circle. You're now talking to other real estate agents and brokers and escrow and title and loan professionals. You are creating that team, that network, those relationships. So it's definitely very smart. First thing you do is get your real estate license.
I love that. Great tip. The networking piece is something I ignored for so long. Like you thinking back, I kind of knew it, it's kind of like knowledge versus belief. You can know something, but your behavior is going to follow when you actually believe it. And everybody always said, the values in your network, it's all about who you know, all that stuff, right? Cliche phrases. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I joined, Tony's 365 Driven Society where we met and started taking a proactive approach to really, meeting people that were doing different things and growing myself, that I really started to understand exactly why everyone said that all those years, right? Like networking is so important. Like how did you go about building your network early on, after you got your license, just starting out? Like what did that look like for you?
I made a big mistake early on. Huge mistake. And I want to, reiterate this to a lot of the younger crowd out there who's listening and watching this is, if you're going to school, if you're in college or you're in trade school or what have you not, whatever path you're taking and whatever, part of your life journey you're in, maintain those relationships. Even if it's just an occasional text message to a friend every 6 months saying, hey, hope you're doing well. Let's catch up sometime. Or if it's a voicemail or an email or something like that. You may even not even like hanging out with the person, or you may not like them too much, but they're just an acquaintance. Just put something out there to keep them in your mind and you in their mind, because you never know when you're going to need that relationship and they're going to need you. So after college, I got my job and I went off and I started working in corporate real estate, and I was around a lot of corporate real estate people. But then a lot of associations and friendships and acquaintances from college I let die. And now looking back on it, I'm like, there's a lot of friends and a lot of opportunities and a lot of relationships and a lot of good things that I could have maintained that I never did. So I kind of had to restart that all over again through my corporate, real estate career. So along the way, you meet a lot of people, and then you find people that you really connect with, people that are good people, know that they're always looking out for your best interests. And those are the type of people you build on, because if that's the type of people they are, most likely they're attracting that type of people into their circle, and that's a circle that you want to be a part of, and they want to be a part of your circle. Mm-hmm. So definitely don't burn a bridge. Don't forget about people. Always do your best in maintaining those relationships, because you never know when you're going to need them.
Yeah, 100%, man. I went through the same thing. I remember deactivating my Facebook, right? Like I had all these people on Facebook years ago, and I'm in my corporate job. I'm like, man, I don't need pictures of me dressed up like Slipknot on Halloween, floating around the corporate office, right? But, why real estate over anything else? Like you guys could have done anything. Like what made you go real estate's the thing for us versus, I asked because I had a guy recently talking to me about investments and stuff. And I was trying to explain, you look at real estate deals and you see the percent returns, right? But there's so many other kind of intangible benefits that go along with a real estate deal, with tax advantages and things like that, that if you're just getting 15% from, the S&P 500 or whatever you're investing in, right? Like, and you don't get those things, and you really got to look at that big picture. So like what made you choose real estate?
For me, choosing real estate was me getting towards the end of my college career or my college education, and speaking to a professor of mine about it, who was a real estate developer who managed the largest development company. And, saying, hey, I'm getting close. I'm looking for, a job, a career, somewhere related to finance and real estate, because I was taking finance and real estate classes. That was going to be my degree. I enjoyed both of those very much. And he suggested go into commercial real estate, go be a commercial real estate broker. I'm like, okay, why me? He's like, because you are exposed to so much, you are around so much in all aspects of real estate. And I think it's a very good place for you to go make money, go make those relationships, and go get that education. So I was able to get recruited by CB Richard Ellis, which is, we know now as CBRE. Worked many years here in Southern California, doing warehouse, industrial sales and leases for many years, and then just kind of moved on from there. So it was actually a referral from a professor to go and get into commercial real estate, go be a broker, be exposed to all sorts of niches in real estate and all certain disciplines in real estate and all different professionals in real estate, because he saw that was something that gelled with me. And when I did, it actually worked out pretty well. So
it's awesome, man. Good advice. Good advice from a successful guy who'd done it. Right. So, I think that's so important, for if you're listening out there, find people like Ahmed, others that are doing what you want to do. And, it's easy to take advice from people that you love who might, want what's best for you. But if they don't have the relationships you want, if they don't have the results you want, if they're not doing the things you want to do, just take their advice with a grain of salt, maybe weigh it against other advice from people that are actually doing the stuff you want to do. And, it might be worth giving them a little more credibility with their advice. Don't you think?
I think a lot of people, their egos get in the way. Ego will kill everything. Like, oh, I don't need to listen to this guy. He's not that successful. Or I don't need to listen to this guy because he only knows how to build cars, or how to do this. It has nothing to deal with what I want to do. Actually, it does. You think just because the guy builds cars, that's all he knows? No, he knows relationships. He knows negotiation. He knows vendors. He knows salespeople. He knows clients. He knows customer appreciation. There's a lot of things that guy can teach you. But unfortunately, we grew up thinking that, oh, this guy only does is build cars. That's all he knows. No, there's a whole lot of stuff you can learn from them. But our egos get in the way and prevent us from actually asking those questions or looking past what's just in front of us and what's really there.
Heck yeah. Awesome advice. Awesome advice, Ahmed. What do you got to do to become a commercial real estate broker?
That is the same thing as, becoming a commercial real estate agent. Like I said, first go get your license, do your research, look at the different product types that are out there, warehouses, offices, retail, and then start investigating commercial real estate firms and start doing your homework on the firm and the structure and the core values and the mindset of the firm, because all the firms are different. Some firms are huge and they're global companies and big giant machines, and they're good if you want to do big kind of deals and international, national type clientele. And then there's smaller regional clients or regional firms who are really good at what they do. They have great network. They're, well known locally, and they get a lot of business because they are subject matter experts. So it all goes back into saying, hey, I'm really interested in apartments, or I'm really interested in warehouses. I want to get into that business. I want to start being a broker. I grew up, I know my neighborhood, I know my market, I know my city, my community, my county. I want to be able to be the guy that transacts these deals on behalf of clients. Go get your license, go study at night, go stay on weekends, go take a crash course online, and then start investigating the commercial real estate firms out there and start, making relationships and connecting with people on LinkedIn and looking for job opportunities or internships. It's just like every other corporate job out there. Is you need to apply, you need to know somebody, you need to, connect, through an internship or some other type of relationship, and then, go down those paths.
Yeah. So you get your license, and is it the same sort of licensure process as traditional single family sort of stuff?
Same license. Yeah. Okay. No different. Yeah.
No different at all.
Yeah. The license is the license. It's the specialty in which you apply it. If you go and become a barber and you get your barber license, well, you can work on people with long hair all day long and become a specialist, or you can go, focus on people with high tight fades and become a specialist with that. It's the same license. It's just how you apply it.
Sure. Yeah. So commercial real estate took a major hit over the last couple of years with COVID and all this stuff, right? So, just curious, your perspective, being so close to the industry, what are you seeing as the future? Like, what are they going to do with all these office spaces now that, so many companies are sending all their people home full time?
That was a really interesting question, because, 18 months ago, I would have told you office space is going to die and there's going to be a lot of opportunities to pick it up for the cheap, because everyone is working from home, telecommuting, whatever you want to call it. And they've had studies that people who work from home are just as productive as if they were in the office. And then they've had studies that say, hey, 80 or 90% of the people want to come back to the office 2, 3, 4 days a week, but not full time. So right. You're kind of stuck between, hey, we can keep everyone home and be productive, or we could have people come back to the office and be just as productive. Mm-hmm. So right now, in a lot of the major metropolitan markets and areas, office leasing and office growth is doing fairly well, a lot better than we all expected. We thought it was going to be decimated, and it wasn't. But at the same time, if you take a look, industrial properties, industrial buildings are on fire. Everything is now home delivery. Everything now is service-based. Everything now is convenience. You jump on your app on your phone, and it shows up at your house the next morning.
It's crazy.
So how does that happen? That's technology affecting the supply chain, and then everyone adapting to make it work. It's the Amazon model. So whether it's your food or your tennis shoes or anything in between, you can order it online, and that can happen for you. I mean, it's the same thing with medical care. Doctors are now having telemedicine conferences. Apartment buildings and other types of facilities are now having telemedicine rooms where you can go get in front of a flat screen and a camera and have an interview with the doctor, because you're not sick enough to go see him, but you don't feel good enough just to stay home. So you get to have a hybrid of that as well. So It's all about service and convenience right now. And that's where the whole industry is going.
For sure. For sure. So I got to ask, what's your favorite, or do you have, in all of the developments you've done, do you have a unique, and maybe not your favorite, but a unique development that kind of stands out as just a really cool one, maybe compared to some of the others?
It wasn't my project. It wasn't my development. It was back when I was doing commercial contracting, and I was part of a team that built a large culinary school and a performing arts building here in Southern California. So it was a public job. It was a school district, a community college district. And I was part of the team, the construction team that made it happen. And This facility is so high tech and so advanced. It's the most acoustically sound performing arts center and the most high tech and advanced culinary school west of the Mississippi.
Oh, wow.
And the amount of time and effort and difficulties and struggles and construction schedules and labor and materials and specialties that were involved in this project made it was excruciating. It was a really hard project because it was so far advanced in every way. But once the project was completed and you drive by it, you're like, wow, that's a really amazing looking building. Wow, I hear a lot of amazing things about that. That's really cool. You know, it's serving the community, it's serving the students. It has an amazing performing arts center that if you walk in the doors and you look up, it's like the most amazing thing you've ever seen. And the culinary school is super high tech and you can go there for lunch. And so it was just that project I really enjoyed, even though it was really difficult. The finished product was just really amazing. And I just really enjoyed being a part of that one as well.
That's awesome, man. Very cool. Very cool. I know you're passionate about quality, and I've heard you talk just, kind of about some of the things you see the many real estate investors, builders, developers do, where, they cut corners and they try to save a buck here and there. And it ends up costing them later in relationships or, future business or other things. Like, talk a little bit to the investor, the guy who's going to do a house flip or something. Like, how important is making sure you have high quality product?
I think it's really important, especially if you are the investor who's going to keep something for the long term. We got a lot of merchant builders out there, the home builders that are, KB, Lennar, or Hanover, and all those guys, which, they make a very good product and, they're good looking, homes, but they're built fast, they're built inexpensively, and they're built to last, but not really last through time. So when I talk about building better and building for quality and building for the long term, it's not necessarily about how well you put the building together, because, most buildings are built pretty solidly. I talk a lot about, the design of the building. Hey, if you're going to keep something for the long term, make sure it's designed well, because in 10 years from now or 15 years, you're going to want to do a major remodel. It's going to be very difficult to do a remodel if you got some sort of building that has really funky architecture. It was really cool in the year 2021, but by 2035, it's completely outdated and it's going to cost you a lot of money to remodel it. Hey, you got a really good price on all these air conditioning units and you have to buy 100 of them, and you got a good price, but those air conditioning units are not as easy to get spare parts for. Those air conditioning units probably won't last as long as some of the other ones will, but you're trying to save money. I want people to think about the longevity. If you're going to be an investor or a developer and you're going to hold on to your property for the long term, look at the things that you're going to be needing to maintain for the long term. Your mechanical systems, your plumbing, your landscaping, your roofing, even the design of the property for the long term. And that's just, on the basics I'm talking. And then we can get down to, quality of construction. I mean, how many times have you popped your head into the ceiling and you saw nothing but construction trash and debris left up there by contractors who was too lazy to throw it away 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
It's like, you guys are being very lazy and being very not intentional about what you're doing. Why do you have to be like that? You're not only hurting yourself, but you're hurting your client, or you're hurting the tenant, or you're hurting somebody for the long run, because you're trying to cut a corner, because you're trying to save a penny. You're trying to save a penny, but you're leaving all the dollars on the floor. And it's just, people don't take the time to think about 10 years from now. Mm-hmm. Architects, engineers, draftsmen, when they draw a project and they put it together and they submit it, they think about today. But I'm like, hey, I want you to think about tomorrow and 10 years from now about what you're designing. Hey, can we remodel? Can we upgrade? Can we change? Are we thinking that maybe in 10 years from now, there may be all new kind of technology that we can take advantage of, but we're not planning for it now? We have an electrical closet or a communications closet or whatever, but it's too small. Why don't we make it a little bit bigger for the future? Hey, Amazon is becoming the trend. Is there a way we can figure out to design a project now that in 10 years from now, it's going to be super convenient for the tenants or the users or whoever occupies that project to get deliveries, to get things in and out, stuff like that. You're thinking about now. I want to think about now and 10 years from now when I do something.
I love that mindset. That, you know, having the long-term vision, I think, is so important. And we are in this environment where we want to get rich quick. We want everything fast. We want it tomorrow. We want our Amazon package today, you know, same day delivery, next day delivery. And, you know, having that long-term view, I think, is so important. Right. And are you in crypto at all? What do you know about crypto? Do you know anything about crypto?
I know about $5,000 worth of crypto. That's about all I know.
Is it worth 60,000 today, or?
That's what they say. You know, I'm kind of kicking myself for not getting into it 10 years ago, like everyone else did. But, you know,
did you invest with our buddy Joel?
No, I did not. Did not. Yeah. Everyone has a new coin. Everyone has a new token. I'm like, okay, this is a full-time job and I don't have time for another one, you know? Yeah. So
I got Joel Clellan coming on the show soon to teach me all about it, because I don't know anything about it. And I to me, if you don't know anything about it, you're just gambling. Like, yeah, you got to know what you're doing. Right. And, you know, it's cool if you want to gamble. You know, some people are making money, but, you know,
a lot of people talk about, I mean, that, you know, everyone's like crypto. I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's the new thing. It's the next thing. It will take off. But, you know, from what I understand is there's a lot of crypto and tokens that are out there that are just baseless. And there's a lot out there that are backed by major corporations and institutions that, you know, will go somewhere. But that's a lot of work to do that research and understand that. So I'm just not there yet with it, but I wish I would. I'm not.
Sure. Yeah. So, you know, if you're going to go do a real estate deal and say you want to branch into looking at deals where you find investors and you want to try to find investor funded deals and round up some investors, what process would you go through? How would you go about finding investors for your deal? Like, say, you know, how do you go about, and how did you build a network where you can have investors for your deals?
I think finding investors is probably the easier part of real estate. Now, getting them to commit's another thing. The biggest thing that you can do is provide an opportunity for people to become a part of it. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, we all know Aaron Wagner, and Aaron Wagner says, you know, ideas are a dime a dozen, but execution is what really makes it work. And so, you know, if you find your opportunity and you're able to find a way to execute on it, people are going to want to jump on that bandwagon. They're going to be a part of it. It's just like investing in crypto. Hey, that's a really good opportunity, a really good product. I want to be a part of that. Mm-hmm. And to do that is also to be on social media, to advertise and put out the information and the success stories that you have of what you're doing. Because the more people see you being successful at what you do, the more people are going to want to be a part of that. You know, if I see somebody cooking a steak, you know, every weekend, and they're making the most amazing steaks in the world, and they got thousands of followers and comments, and all of a sudden they're saying, yeah, I'm thinking about opening a steakhouse in Houston, looking for investors. I'd be like, hey, let me get into that, because I know what you do. I know how good you do it. I know how many people follow you. And I know how people have the same sentiment about you are a subject matter expert. And if you're the subject matter expert, let me be a part of that. Let me invest with you. Let me help you grow. At the same time, it's helping me in my investments. So putting it out on social media and letting people know you're the subject matter expert is the best thing you can do. Yeah. Because once people see that, they're going to want to jump on board, and they're going to be asking and begging you to be a part of your next deal and your next deal and your next deal.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. It's that reputation that, you know, people see and that you've proven it, right? You're reliable. And, you know, I love the idea of showing people your successes too. I think many people are probably a little hesitant to show off. You know, they don't want to be perceived as vain or whatever, you know, but there's really something to that. Did you struggle with that? Showing off, putting yourself on social media?
Yeah, it was kind of hard. It's kind of like the imposter syndrome. Like, who am I to put this information out there? Who am I to share my successes? Who am I to show people how to build and acquire and develop and evaluate? I'm just a med from Southern California, But then, if you start thinking about it, I got 20 years of experience. I got 20 years of success and failures. I don't think there's many people out there that can actually share more than I can share.
Right.
And it's just being practical about it, and looking at it from a third person saying, actually, you do have a lot of experience. You do have a lot of success and a lot of failures, and you can help people by putting it out there. So what's stopping you from doing it? Not to say anything, but I've been doing real estate a lot longer than Grant Cardone, right?
Yeah, sure.
But look what he did. He took his successes, he put it out there, he created a company, and he created a movement, and look how fast he's growing.
Yeah.
So, and there's people out there that are more successful and smarter than I am, and there are a lot of people out there who are less successful and less intelligent than I am. But it's all about putting the information out there, doing your best to be a good steward, and then hoping people will recognize and realize that you are actually, walking the walk and talking the talk, and showing the reasons and the successes and the failures behind it. So you're coming with the credibility versus just, look at me, look at what I did. This is all my success. I'm like, okay, well, what's behind it? Show us behind the curtain.
Yeah. I love it. I love it, man. Yeah. Stepping out and actually taking action, it's almost like people can think the market's flooded, or, it's too late, or there's too many people in that. It's like podcasts, right? Like there's too many podcasts out there. Like there is so much opportunity, and there's so much space for people to get their share of the market in just about everything. So like, don't hesitate to go make your move, take a chance, just take some action and start. Everybody I've ever talked to, if you're listening out there and you've been thinking about stuff, you got ideas, you got people around you, just take some action, go do something, and you'll be amazed at how your life will just start changing little by little.
I was at an event a couple of weeks ago called the Driven Event, and Albert Preciado, a big mortgage professional here on the West Coast, put it on. Had Andy Frisella, Ed Milet, Dan Fleischman, Bobby Castro, some really amazing speakers, right? And the biggest takeaway I took from that weekend was, and I don't want to misquote it and say someone said it, and I don't want to say who it was because I'm not 100% sure who said it was, but somebody asked, hey, there's a lot of competition out there. Why would I want to get into a business where there's so much competition? And the answer that was provided to this individual was, there's always room for the best. There's always room for your best. No matter how much competition is out there, there's always room for the best. So if you're going to go out there, be the best, because if you are, competition doesn't matter.
100%. I love that. I absolutely love that. I recently got into a deal. What do you know about the Airbnb space? You know much about Airbnb and all that?
I've been learning a lot about it because I have a bunch of apartments out in Phoenix, and it's close to the hospital, one of the major hospitals out there. I'm like, okay, I'm making so much money on a monthly rental. Let me take one or two of these units, renovate them, and do the Airbnb and see how that works out. Because you could be getting 200 to 300 times more in terms of rent and revenue than you would for a monthly rental of a regular apartment or space. So it's it's a lot more labor intensive, but there are some good returns on it. Learning about average nights per month that you're occupied and how that translates to dollars. People saying on average you should be occupied from like 19 to 21 nights a month. If you're doing really well, you're 23 to 25 nights a month, and and you should be bringing in 200 to 300% of your normal of the rent, things like that. So I am learning because there are people who are doing really, really well in it.
Yeah, those numbers you just quoted, like they're no joke. I've seen them work, and your comment about being the best rang in my head because I'm working with a guy who manages my management company. He works with a builder here in Houston, and they do tons of projects. He manages like 30 or 40 of his properties as Airbnbs, but their thing is they're the best. Like they make these properties nice. They don't skimp on furnishing them. And when people see these properties, they're like, man, I want to go stay there, and I'm going to pay a premium to do it. And you provide them with a great place to stay. you get good reviews, and those 2 to 3x multiples of the rent is pretty wild, man.
I think a lot of people who are entrepreneurs or who run business, they forget what they're in it for.
Right.
I think, Priscilla said it best, is like, hey, it's all about the customer experience. The product is just a byproduct. It's just the tool to get there. Mm-hmm. So for me, real estate investments is just the tool. I need those tools to provide the best customer experience out there. So if I'm able to provide the best customer experience and real estate is my tool, that's what I'm going to use. If I'm in the car business, the car is just a tool. I'm here to provide the experience to the client so they keep coming back over and over again. So whatever business you're in, you're not in that particular business. Your business is customer experience business. And that industry you're in, that's just a tool to get you there.
Boom. I love that. That's a bomb right there. Ahmed, this has been super fun, man. If you're not following Ahmed already, you got to go follow him at Ahmed Builds Better. You can go to his website, ahmed10k.com. That links to all sorts of stuff he's got going on. Hashtag I build better. And clearly, with all the comments he just made, he does have focus heavily on building better. Ahmed, before we leave, something I ask many of my guests, I have the perspective. It's kind of the Gary V. I think Gary V helped me with this perspective. Like, wouldn't it be cool to be able to see like your grandfather, your great grandfather sitting there talking to some famous developer from like the early 1900s, right? On a podcast. Like that would just be so freaking cool. But all we have is like one picture in black and white or, something like that. So like with the perspective that 2 or 3 generations down, they might see, great granddad Ahmed talking with Uncle Phil from GLE. What would you leave? What would you leave those generations with today?
Oh man, what a question! I wish you primed him with that one before we got on the call.
I know it's a tough one. Sometimes I've gotten it, and I'm like, I don't know.
I think it would be is enjoy what you do, love what you do, because when you enjoy what you do and you love what you do, you're going to be the best at it. And when you're the best at it, the money and the success and all of the accolades that will come with it will just come naturally. Be good at what you do, enjoy what you do, and everything else will just come along with it easily, and just be proud of it.
Great advice, Ahmed. Appreciate you coming on, brother. It's been fun. We'll have to talk again soon, talk about some of those potential deals and whatnot, and we'll talk to you again, brother. Thanks again.
Thank you. It was good.
All right, everybody out there, you have a great day. Go lead everything.